everyone, and welcome back to CU Faith Fridays. This week we have a new guest with us, sophomore Anthony Del-Debbio, and I'll let him explain a little bit more about where he's from and all that. But just want to say, Anthony, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great, awesome. Well, as we're in our second season of CU Faith Fridays, we really look forward to hearing more from our students and then as well as faculty and staff, as we heard from Dr. Whalen last week. So this week we're going to hear from Anthony just a little bit more about his faith, who he is, and how he lives his faith in his everyday life. So let's get started with you, Anthony, if you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, introduction, where you're from, anything like that.
Okay, perfect. Hi, my name is Anthony Del-Debbio. I'm a sophomore at Caldwell. I am undecided right now, but I'm most likely gonna do sports management with communications. I'm from the Bronx, New York. I take big pride in that. I've lived here my whole life. I came to Caldwell out of sheer chance. It was a very chaotic decision. It was the best one though I could have made. I love Caldwell. It's given me a lot of opportunities, met great people, and I was able to do a lot of great work here at Caldwell, especially with campus ministry and just any events they've had planned.
Awesome. Great. Well, I think back to the first time I met you. I believe it was the fall of your senior year of high school when you came for the instant decision day, I think. And you were there with your dad. And I remember just talking to you, and it really sounded like you had such a vibrant high school experience. And I think that I have felt like that's very pivotal to your experience in your faith life today. So, what was so important about your high school experience? What made it so pivotal in your life?
So it goes back to kind of my freshman year of high school where I was called a few things by the teachers, none of them which were good in a funny way. Um, and it kind of changed for me with a brother. My school is run by the Salesian Order of Brothers and Priests, and he kind of said, I want you to, take interest in youth ministry. And I had no, desire to do it. I was a big public school kid. I never really was in the Catholic faith. And then I went to a few meetings, I went to a few masses, and I kind of got involved. And it really kicked off my junior year when they sent me on one of their major retreats. I was one of 10 kids selected out of 140 participants from my high school. And it changed my life. I met a lot of great people. They taught me so many great messages I now speak to this day. And they taught me everything I know. And I give them big praise and big thanks for everything they gave me.
That's great. That's awesome. And it sounds like that experience then kind of propelled you into not only wanting to go to a Catholic university, but to be engaged in campus ministry as well. Would you say that's true?
Absolutely, 100%.
Awesome. Great. So just kind of diving into that pivotal retreat, I use the word pivotal a lot, that important retreat experience for you. What would you say from that experience, like your relationship with God changed and that's why you wanted to get more involved? Or what was it about that experience that propelled you forward?
It all started at our week's adoration. It was, I was sitting there and I was like, okay, there's a reason I'm here. There's a reason why I have to be here. So let me actually pay attention instead of looking at the ceiling. So I kind of knelt down and I looked up at the Eucharist and I kind of said to myself, what do you want me to do? What is the point? Where am I going in life? Because at the time I was having a lot of knee issues. I would go on to have a few surgeries and I really didn't know where I was going. And at the same time, a song called Lord I Need You by Matt Maher started playing. And it kind of clicked in my head like, I do need God in my life. And I've used that song to teach many others that we all need a little bit of God in our life. We don't need him, to tie our shoe, but we might need him in the most important times. And we always have to be able to look back at that. And from that point, I started crying And it changed my life, that one adoration experience. And to this day, whenever anyone says, "You want to go to adoration?" I go, "Absolutely."
Mm,
Because every time I go back, I always feel like it's a new experience.
that's great. Yeah, wow, that sounds like obviously it was something really important for you and helped you grow in your faith life. Um, Overall, what would you say that you get out of having faith? Like, why have faith for you?
It's always a comforting answer. I know a lot of people, well, in my high school, even though I went to a Catholic high school, we had many different faiths and ideologies. And a lot of kids, weren't, Catholic and had no faith. And when you would talk to them, they would say, "I'm a little scared because, if something happens, I don't know who to talk to or what to do." And they always told me, like, "You have your answers." And I said, "I kind of do." And that's what, Catholic, I always found as being a good thing in a way. I always do have an answer. If something goes wrong, I have someone to talk to, not just physically my parents, but spiritually in my God.
Yeah, yeah. So let's move to the transition to college a little bit. What are some of the things that you have found that you've gotten involved in college that have been really helpful to kind of carry that transition of faith from high school to college?
Well, for starters, I got really involved in campus ministry. Um, I was, I did the first program. I helped on any retreat. I did a lot of things. It was a little rough because I did leave, my freshman year. I had to take some time off. But when I came back my second semester freshman year, I picked up the ball rolling and I got into it. And something I did was I would play basketball in the community, and I believe it's the Newman Center gym. And while I was playing basketball, a lot of people would ask me, like, "Where are you from? What are you doing here?" And I would kind of use that as my moment to kind of, spread the faith and everything, because I would say, "I'm also in campus ministry. We have this event. You should come by." And the kids were like, "Oh, okay," because they would say, "This he's not just another person. He's one of us. He plays basketball and he does have this faith life." And a lot of people are afraid to show that they are faithful, I feel, nowadays, because it's not the new norm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Almost like finding some common ground to build
Hmm.
that. And as you said, I think oftentimes having faith can be viewed as being like someone's like, oh, so different, like I can't relate to them. But yeah, to be in a space where you can kind of find that common ground. And I think that that kind of reminds me of like the element of community. And I know community is so important at Caldwell, and I'm sure it was for you in high school and just growing up and stuff. So, what role would you say community has played in your faith?
It's played a big part of it because back in high school, after every adoration, we would do an hour of recreational time where the people you would pray with, you played with. And that was a big selling point and kind of our motto for why you go to adoration. You pray and then you play. And we always, at the end of it, we always gather around and talk about the day. And we talk about the adoration service and we talk about, our recreational time, because when people join, we always said five of you could go join a basketball game, five of you should be able to go to church on a Saturday, because the community is there for each other. When we were in high school, we would have morning masses. It was never just one or two kids. We would grab our friends, we would grab our teachers, and we would all go as a community together.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. It's like almost embracing the element of joy that is supposed to be so present in our faith, right?
Yeah.
Um, what would you say are some of the other ways that you have found joy through living your faith?
Meeting the different people from the retreats. The Salesian retreats, they were part of, we had about 9 schools in the East Coast, and meeting new people and experiencing different ways of life. And then coming to Caldwell and doing the retreats I've been a part of with Caldwell was a different thing because everyone was from New Jersey, which most Caldwell is. And coming from New York, that different experience, and I would use the term ideology, was very unique to me because
Mm.
I would say things and people were like, "I don't understand what that means."
Yeah, yep. That was definitely one of the transitions of going to a different state for college.
Yeah.
I remember feeling that too. Um, well, let's transition to so you're at home now, you're remote this semester, and we all have been since the spring, since March. So what has being remote been like for you, just in general? Doesn't have to be related to faith necessarily, but just in general, what's remote been like for you?
It's been a challenge because, in Caldwell, everyone's from New Jersey. So being in New York, especially in the Bronx, I'm actually one of two people I think on campus from the Bronx area. And from New York in total, I think there's maybe 10 kids I've ever met out of about 400. So, it's hard being here remote. And especially with New York's, we had a lot of strict guidelines during COVID. So it was very hard to, contact people. But, I was able to do it through social media. I met a lot of new friends on the way. I was able to reach out to about 5 new people and became very close with them. So being remote, it was a challenge at first, but now it's okay. It's not that bad.
Hmm. And what are, like, now that the semester is back in session and you have classes and things are, I think, operating a little bit differently than they were in the spring, what are some ways that you have found to still stay connected to Caldwell even though you are in New York right now?
Well, I did do the virtual first program with some of the freshmen, and that has been a big part of it. I've reached out to these freshmen. I've talked to them. One of them, I even helped plan his schedule a little bit for him. He was having trouble with that. And just, I always check the emails. And if, if they say, we're doing this event, I maybe contact them and say, you know, what's this event like? Can you talk to me about it? And, here's some suggestions I have of an event. So working with Caldwell virtually has been a big part of what I've been doing, spending my time instead of just sitting around doing nothing.
Hmm. Yeah. And then, so thinking about your faith, and some of our campus ministry programs are virtual, and I know you, as you said, you came back as a first program leader this year when we did the program virtual. Have there been ways that you have found it really helpful to stay connected, not just maybe to campus ministry at Caldwell, but to your faith in general during this time?
Um, I would say there's been a lot of, virtual masses going on. I do know Caldwell does offer them and, the Salesians offer them back in my high school. And, I do know there's a bunch of group chats that opened up publicly for people to use on Facebook and, Instagram, that you can go for your faith and people have the same faith and everything, and people talk to one another and kind of harness that unity that we need nowadays.
Mhm. That's awesome. Yeah, staying connected in this crazy virtual world, it can sometimes feel really distant and hard, but I think it's great to hear about ways that people have stayed connected, and it's a challenge. It can be a challenge, and you really have to work to stay connected. So
Mhm.
that's good that that's something that you've really been kind of active in, it sounds like. So,
Yeah.
um, what would you say is, thinking over your first 18, 19 years of life,
18.
18, okay, almost 19.
Almost 19.
What has been your biggest growth point with your faith?
It would go back to that retreat I went on my junior year. Um, and it also goes back to the beginning of my sophomore year because I remember I was big into the chess program at my high school, and it was run by one of the teachers, of course. And I kind of went to him and I said to the teacher, I said, Mr. Federico, his name, I said, I don't get why kids are just so mean. I said, I don't get why, I don't understand why teenage boys are just ruthless. And he goes, you're getting it now. He was like, you're understanding it. And through his help and another priest, brother Steve DeMeo, who's actually he's about to become a father, Steve DeMeo. He kind of helped me, and they kind of planted the seeds for me to do certain stuff. They would send me to go do something for them, and then I would understand it was faith related. So definitely, my sophomore and junior year of high school really propelled me into the man I am today with my faith and understanding it.
That's cool. That's cool. And hopefully as your time goes on in Caldwell, I know it's just the start of your sophomore year. So hopefully at Caldwell and then throughout life, obviously, you'll have other pretty significant moments of growth in your faith. or at
Yeah,
least that's the hope, right?
I hope so.
The way God is ever changing in our lives as well. I guess to kind of close and wrap up, do you have a favorite prayer or a favorite way to pray that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Um, there's actually a YouTube channel, and it's gonna sound far-fetched at first, but I'll get there. There's a YouTube channel called The Bible Project, and what they do is they break down different Bible stories and verses in the Bible, and they'll explain everything to a detail. And normally I'll watch one of these videos, and sometimes it's for, my personal use, but sometimes it's for class. And what I find is it gets me thinking, what did they say? What did they mean by what they said? And then it starts to get me talking to God, out loud saying, what do you mean by this? And that's where I kind of then understand that then it's time to pray. And I'll pray to God saying, help me understand this. And I think that's a vital prayer. And, we think of prayers saying, the Hail Mary, the Our Father, the Glory be. But a simple prayer could just be saying, God, I need your help and understanding. Reach out to me. And it's not going to take 3 to 5 business days. It's going to take a while. And it's going to take a sign that you're not going to see at first. But when you see it, you'll know it's the answer.
Great. That's awesome. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. Well, before we close, is there anything additional you'd like to share with us before we wrap up?
Being we're in a time of COVID, um, there is one story I do tell people to read, and I kind of helps them in a way if they think about it. It's the book of Job in the Bible. Because the story of Job, I won't spoil it much, but he was down on his luck, worse than I would say a lot of people. And, a lot of people would say, well, not down on my luck. Just read the book of Job. You'll understand. And his story of how he loved God, kind of denounced it, and found him again is just a story anyone can relate to because what he goes through, anyone can understand and feel his pain. But they also feel his happiness. And that's what the book of Job is all about. I live by the book of Job. And there's one thing I would also leave off on. It's my favorite scripture quote. It's called 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. Due to the interpretation, it might be different in other people. But it's basically oh, I just blanked out. Oh no. Oh, I got
You,
it.
Timothy.
Yeah. 2 Timothy chapter 4, verse 7. I fought a good fight. I finished the race. I kept the faith.
Nice. Nice. I like that. I like that. And I think
Yeah,
that message really does go along with the Book of Job theme. And it's so important to keep our faith during this time. And so I
exactly.
appreciate you kind of reminding us of that. So excellent.
No
Well,
problem.
good. Well, I'd like to thank Anthony for being on our CU Faith Fridays this week, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next week with a new guest who will be sharing more about their own personal faith journey that hopefully we can all learn something from. So, thank you very much.